Hello everyone, I'm Bruffy1322 and this video is going to show the fastest fully upgraded vans in terms of lap time. We're quickly going to go over the slowest vehicles right now, and as always the position counter is in the top left with the best lap time the van achieved in the top right. This video only focuses on track performance, so if you're interested in top speed where braking, cornering and acceleration aren't relevant, check the link in the description for the top speed testing series. And if you want to know more information about this testing, including the extent to which it's accurate and how useful it is for you personally, have a read of the full description as everything that you need is in there. So the first half of this video is going to be filled with vans that you can't actually upgrade. The vast majority of them you can't even store them in your garage either. Things like the Boxville, the Journey here, they are incredibly slow. The Taco van, for example, a 1 minute 40 lap time is incredibly slow, and none of these you can actually upgrade with the usual engine, transmission and turbo, apart from the very first vehicle that we saw in this list, which was the Surfer. The Surfer gets a 1 minute 49 and is slower than all of these vehicles that you can't upgrade, even though you can actually upgrade the Surfer with turbo, transmission, engine, all the usual modifications. You fully upgrade it and it is still slower than all of these vans. The Yuga Classic is another one that you can actually upgrade and obviously buy it and store it, but it is still only in 16th place with a 1 minute 30 lap time. It is very slow. Same goes for the Surfer. Two very slow vehicles, and the Surfer and the Yuga Classic are actually the two slowest vehicles that you can fully upgrade with the turbo and transmission and all the usual performance modifications. So we're still on vehicles apart from those two that you can't upgrade. The Gang Burrito, the lost variant of the Gang Burrito, is in 15th place. It's pretty much an exactly the same carbon copy replica of the regular Burrito under the hood. As you can see from their lap times, they both get a 1 minute 27.8. They are pretty much an identical vehicle under the hood in terms of performance. That's the regular Burrito and the lost variant of the Gang Burrito, and we're going to see the exact same story with the next two vehicles. First up is the Speedo in 13th place, but this gets exactly the same lap time almost as the next vehicle in 12th place, which is going to be the Clown van. So we've had two sets of vehicles that are exactly the same as each other. The Burrito and the lost variant of the Gang Burrito are identical, and the Speedo and the Clown van are also identical as well in terms of performance under the hood. Just to point out that the Gang Burrito, the lost variant of the Gang Burrito, is different to the regular heist variant of the Gang Burrito, which we'll see later on in the video. The lost variant is slower, it's not upgradable, it's not storable, it is more of a special vehicle. So in 11th place is the Pony, and this rounds out the vehicles that you can't upgrade. So all of the top 10, apart from one, you will be able to upgrade in Los Santos Customs, store them in your garage, things like that. The Pony is the best of those that you can't do that. With a 126.6, it's only a tiny little bit quicker than the Clown van, and it's always been this thing between the Pony and the Clown van ever since the game first came out, where the Pony has the traction in the corners. It's a lot better in that respect, but the Clown van has the higher top speed, and we'll see that same sort of thing later on in the video as well. So into the top 10, and the first of the vehicles that not the first of the vehicles that you can actually upgrade, because we've had the Yuga Classic and the Surfer as well, but those are so slow they're not really worth mentioning. The Bobcat XL was obviously in 10th place, and then the minivan here in 9th place. 1 minute 23 we're up to with the minivan now, and we're going to see quite a few vehicles that are all with the 1 minute 23 lap time as well, and they're not too bad, you know, for the vans class at least. We're starting to get up there with lap time, but we are still, you know, 20 seconds per lap slower than some of the best sports cars, for example. So just to put that into perspective, how slow these vans actually are. Now in 8th place we've got the Paradise, and again another example of two vehicles that are exactly the same under the hood. We saw it with the Speedo and the Clown van, and we saw it with the Gang Burrito and the regular Burrito. We're now seeing it here with the Paradise, which is an absolute carbon copy in terms of performance, as the Rumpo, which we're seeing in 7th place here. So the Rumpo and the Paradise are exactly the same vehicle in terms of performance. They get almost identical lap times in the testing, which is, you know, that shows how close they are. They are identical in terms of the body shape and under the hood as well. It's sort of the visual differences really, but they are two separate vehicles, and they ultimately in 8th and 7th places in the vans class. So they're not too bad when you do upgrade them, but they're still way off the pace of what we'll ultimately see. Same goes for the Yuga here in 6th place, just ahead of the Rumpo and the Paradise with a 123.0. Again, the Yuga is not too bad. and it's certainly a hell of a lot better than the Yuga Classic, but we are still quite a way off the lap times that we're going to be seeing at the very top. Now as we come into the top 5, we've got our only vehicle in the top 10 that you can't upgrade, and that is the Armoured Boxville. So the Armoured Boxville gets a lap time of 1 minute 21.5, which is actually pretty impressive. If you could upgrade this, this would probably end up within the top 3, so it's a pretty quick vehicle for the Vans class. Obviously you can't use it in a race, you can't store it in your regular garage, but you can store it in your vehicle warehouse as a special vehicle, and yeah, it's actually pretty quick considering that you can't upgrade it. Now in 4th place we've got the Minivan Custom, which is a little bit quicker than the regular minivan. With a 1 minute 21.2, it's only a little bit quicker than the Armoured Boxville. But yeah, the Minivan Custom does get the benefit of a spoiler and slightly more power and a little bit better traction as well, so it does get the benefit of that over and above the regular minivan. But even now in 4th place, we're still, in terms of lap time, quite a way off what we'll ultimately see, and it's only really when we get into the top 3, the first of which is the Bison in 3rd place, that we actually dip under that 1 minute 20 barrier, with the Bison with a 1 minute 19.9. The Bison really is a pickup truck. I don't know why it's classed in the Vans class, but there isn't really a pickup trucks class either. The Bison always used to be the best since the game first came out, but then we've had DLC vehicles that have since taken that crown away from it. But it is still a competent vehicle. Having said that, it is still quite a way off the ultimate pace of the top 2, which are both very, very close in terms of lap time, as we'll see. Really, those are the 2 that are fighting for the lead in the Vans class. Anything below the top 2, really, you're not going to do too well with. So in 2nd place, we've got the Gang Burrito. Now, the thing to point out about the top 2, because you probably know at this point what the 1st place vehicle is that they are extremely close in terms of performance. The Gang Burrito's lap time of a 1 minute 17.510 is only 1/10 of a second slower than the 1st place vehicle. So the Gang Burrito was only 1/10 of a second away from being the top vehicle in the class. And the beauty about the top 2 vehicles in the Vans class is that there actually is a level of balance there. You know, we've had quite a few videos recently where we've had the compacts, the sedans, the SUVs, where they are completely dominated by one vehicle. That's not the case with Vans. So we got the Rumpo Custom in 1st place. Obviously, as you might have guessed, this gets a lap time of 1 minute 17.410. Like I said, exactly 1/10 of a second quicker than the Gang Burrito, and they both have positives and negatives to their use. The Rumpo Custom is much better in terms of cornering. It doesn't get the benefit of a spoiler like the Gang Burrito does, and that's what makes the Rumpo Custom better in stock van races, because it does have more base traction in general. But the Rumpo Custom is better in terms of cornering. It will get around the corners quicker, and it does have better acceleration. But the Gang Burrito is much quicker than the Rumpo Custom in terms of top speed. So we'll see the top speed testing video tomorrow, where you'll see the top speeds of all of these. But that's where the balance comes in. On a relatively balanced track like this one, they are very close together. On a track that is more corner heavy, the Rumpo Custom will be a little bit better. On a track that has a few more longer straights, the Gang Burrito will be better. So it's great that we have a little bit of balance at the top of the Vans class in this respect, and ultimately you can have either of the top 2 and they will do you fine in van races. Just to point out, if anybody doesn't know how to have van races on their own custom created tracks, if you have a large grid set in the creator, then you will be able to enable vans as an option for for races on your track. So that's how you get van races. But yeah, both the Rumpo Custom and the Gang Burrito are miles ahead of everything else, and they are so close together that ultimately it's all about personal preference, which one you want to use. A few things to point out is that the Gang Burrito is a lot more stable. It feels a lot more like what you would consider to be a traditional van, like the majority of other vehicles in the class. The Rumpo Custom is a lot more prone to rolling over. Its suspension is a little bit weird. It does have a tendency to flip over if you corner it too hard with it. It is quite a difficult car to use, so you know, keep that in mind when you're deciding what to buy. And if you are having trouble with the Rumpo Custom, the Gang Burrito probably would suit you better. But a benefit of the Rumpo Custom is that it is good in terms of off-road traction loss. So it doesn't have a very high off-road traction loss statistic. I've covered about off-road traction loss in the past, and obviously when we come on to the next class that we're going to be doing in a few weeks time after a little break will be the off-roads class. That's when an off-road traction loss is important, but I'll talk more about that when we come on to that video. But the Rumpo Custom is quite a good vehicle off-road, certainly a lot better than the Gang Burrito. So if you ever do find yourself in a van race and there are some off-road sections, the Rumpo Custom will be much quicker on those off-road sections, and overall probably quicker over the whole lap because of that. But again, it comes into the idea that the Rumpo Custom, whilst it might have more traction in an off-road situation and be quicker in an off-road situation, it is also more prone to rolling over from the natural bumps that you might get also in that off-road situation. So it is a good balancing at the top of the Vans class, and it's really nice that we see that. It's a shame that there aren't more of the vehicles that are further down the order that are sort of closer on the pace, because there is quite a big gap from first and second to third and then beyond. But it's an interesting class, I think. I think there's quite a few interesting vehicles in there, and ultimately the Vans class is a lot better balanced than some more popular classes like the sedans and the SUVs and the compacts. So it's good to see we do have some balance, at least in some classes, still in the game. So that's pretty much it. Obviously remember to read the description for more info, comment with your thoughts, like the video if you enjoyed it, found it helpful, and subscribe for more. Thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I'll see you next time.